Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I was going to take the first part of this video just to do a little bit of a study guide for you guys in regards to your test that's going to be due on 11/30, and I'll talk about a little bit more about the requirements of the test. You have to have a lockdown browser, you have to have a password, all that kind of good stuff. We'll talk about that here in a minute, but first off, I want to give you a little study guide so you're able to study for the test and take it by 11:30 in the day and do a great job. Only 25 total questions, and this is the kind of stuff that you have to understand. Know what laws are. Laws, so write these down. Laws, what is a law? Know about like reasonable care, reasonable person, standard of care, respondeat superior. There's questions in regards to those type of things. So like a reasonable member of society is another thing you need to understand in relation to the test. Know about a patient bill of rights. What is a patient bill of rights? Know about licensure. What is licensure? How does licensure impact healthcare? What is healthcare licensure? And I'm looking through the test just to give you some terms, so that's why it's taking me here in a minute before going through. Know what healthcare worker unions are? Know what unions are? Basic questions about unions. What are unions? Know about, we talked about licensure already, medical licensure. What is that? Know about the Elder Justice Act of 2009. What is the Elder Justice Act of 2009? Lots of questions about licensure. Know about what the difference is between Medicare and Medicaid. Know about civil law and criminal law and those differences, civil and criminal law. All right. Know about, the the legal setting in regards to a courtroom. What is a testimony? What's considered evidence, expert witnesses, all that kind of stuff. Know about the Constitution, the basics. What is the Constitution made of? All right, know what a deposition is. What is a deposition? You're going to have to know, of course, about, Congress, Senate, the executive branches of government, all that kind of good stuff, judicial branches. Understand all those. Know what the statute of limitations is. I've already talked about that a little bit, but there's some questions about the statute of limitations. Let's see. There's a question in here. It's kind of unique to my communications class, but know what nonverbal communication is, just based on, you see that in the courtroom a lot. So there's a question in there about nonverbal communication. Know about medical malpractice. What is medical malpractice? All right. There's some short answer and essay questions as well you'll have to be aware of. There are some confusing questions in there, so you need to read through it in order to understand, how things play out. Okay, so just take your time. You have plenty of time with 25 questions here. Know about the Uniform it's hard for me to pronounce this. Uniform Anatomical Gift Act. And I know I butchered that. It's anatomy based, but UAGA. You know what the UAGA is? It has to do with a gift, an organ gift from the deceased. So sorry about butchering that word there. Know about a defendant, a plaintiff. Know what those two things are. And of course, we've already talked about a criminal case. All right. So that's a little bit of a study guide. It's the first exam, so there's not a ton of questions, but that'll give you a good start. Let me hop back over to the course and we'll talk about what you got to do in order to take the test and be successful. So one thing that you're going to have to do in the announcement page below this video, you'll have instructions for Lockdown Browser. You have to download Lockdown Browser. It's a requirement for tests because it prevents you from going to another website and getting the answer that way. This is an open book test, so you can go through your book and find the answers that way, but you can't open another page on your computer at the same time and get the answers. So that's what Lockdown Browser prevents. So you have to download that, follow the link below. There's instructions as well. If you run into any challenges with that, don't hesitate to reach out. The password is PTA 2025. You're going to have to enter that before jumping into the test. and the test is located right here. It says Exam 1. You just click on that, and it goes over everything needed. 25 questions, time limit 60 minutes. Reach out to me if there's a discrepancy there, and we'll work on that. But multiple choice, short answer, essay, and true or false. So happy to, if you have questions before the test, answer any questions that you might have. But if you reviewed that study guide, you should do really good, because it's only going over the chapters that we went over, and it's a lot of the basic stuff in the first few chapters, so it's not super complicated. But from that perspective, just really make sure you study prior to taking the test. Go over those things that we talked about in the initial part of the video, and you'll do just fine. If you have trouble with Lockdown Browser, don't hesitate to reach out. Again, you can get this test done prior to the holiday, the 27th, if you want, or you can do it after, during the weekend, if you want to take a little bit more time. That's always up to you, whatever works best for your schedule. Again, I'm here if you need me. Happy to help in any way. I know you guys are going to do a great job on Exam 1, and I'm looking forward to grading those great grades. All right? Let me know if you need anything. Thanks so much.